All right, guys. Moto Dad podcast. This is episode, I've lost count. I think it's 4. Episode 4. First rule of Moto Dad podcast. We talk dirt bikes and we drink beer.
Right on.
I broke my tooth today.
Yeah?
I was eating gummy worms and I broke my tooth.
On a gummy worm.
On a gummy worm, so that really actually hurt.
But
it's worth it.
Yeah. That's vet life. When
Okay.
you break your
Vet
tooth
life.
on a gummy.
Vet life. So I am sitting with 2 of my really good friends. This is another one of those cool episodes that I've always dreamed about doing, is like sitting with my friends who I grew up around, talk about dirt bikes, talk about our dads, talk about our kids. And I'm also, obviously I'm going to introduce you guys as, new moto dads. You got kids coming into it. You've also, I think one of my more fun aspects of the show is really the experience that you guys have had, the things that you've done around moto. I want to talk about it. I want some of those new moto dads to hear about, some of the life experiences that you guys got to have. Because both of these guys are international motocross riders, right? You guys basically made it to the pinnacle of what you would say an average success story of a motocross rider is. You got paid to race dirt bikes. You got paid start money. You got to go to cool races. You got to do really fun stuff. And that really, to me, is like kind of the median of success in motocross. Would you say? What?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's not really a clear path, right?
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, you do this, you do this, you do this. One of the things I think about motocross is you have to react to how situations come at you,
Fly by the seat of your pants.
Yeah, because you can't be like, oh, I'm going to do this, and at midseason I'm going to be here, and then next year I'm going to be here. Injuries, there's so many things that can derail you. So, I mean, you want to have a loose plan, but it's going to be loose, whether you like it or not, right?
Nothing methodical about it.
Yeah.
Well, let's kind of get into it. I kicked these shows off with a kind of an update on Travis and what he's up to. Man, we haven't touched dirt bikes. We've raced on the ice, which was really cool, but he got to put maybe 20 minutes on the bike. Other than that, he hasn't talked about dirt bikes. I think the biggest dirt bike thing that we have going on right now is that tomorrow Travis turns 7.
Yeah.
That means he turns AMA 6.
Yep.
That's big, right? I mean, where are we at with birthdays? Okay, so you have Cruz.
Yeah, so Cruz is May.
So that's not bad.
So
it's not bad.
Yeah.
And then
Cole's October.
Cole's October. So Cole's on the wrong side of the stick.
Yeah, as was I.
Brian, explain that a little bit when it comes to AMA and a child's age and where their birthday lies.
Yeah, so it goes off of January, right?
Yep.
So whatever they are, come January 1st.
January 1.
Yeah, so yeah.
And what's your birthday?
September.
Do you guys ever recall in your life an age affecting you? Like not being able to race a class that you felt you should have been racing, that your peers were racing?
No, so my dad always had me riding, I started riding an 80 at 8. I had my first 80 at 8, so I was always too small for my bikes.
And that was kind of part of the culture back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I got my first, 80 was a used 92, but yeah, he brought it home from Tri-Sports just to pick up oil, and he came home with an 80. So that was my dad, and I didn't race the 80 at 8 years old, but I was always riding a bike bigger.
Yeah.
It was way too big for me. So I essentially rode an 80 from 8 years old I rode it till I was 15.
Well, yeah. I feel like we grew into bikes back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was,
Yep. I always side saddled a bike. I still side saddle a bike today. I'm sure.
Same.
Yeah.
And that's where, I'm still trying to figure out this Moto Dad thing. Because honestly, if you were to ask me 3 years ago, I would tell you this year is my year with my son to get him to do the types of races I want to do, right? I want to go to Loretta's with him. I want to do Mini-O's, and I want him to be competitive, but also, like, does it really matter? Like, does that, you know, being at that top of the age bracket and going out there and doing well, you know? Or you take somebody that steps up a lot faster and they move out of that class quicker.
Yeah.
Are they getting more experience that way, you know?
I think there was a few instances growing up that if you were to ask my dad now, I think he wished he would, because he could have held me back a little bit. But the way he saw it was always putting with faster guys.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, talking with him over the years, I think he wishes he would have held me back, because I don't remember the years, but like I could have probably maybe stayed in the B class a little longer or whatnot. And instead, we just kept bumping up. But
do you think moving through the ranks quicker, like moving up to a bigger bike, does that attribute to more injuries? Brian, you've had a lot of injuries. You've hit the ground a few times pretty hard.
Yeah.
Do you think getting on that bike too soon attributes to that? Or do you think staying on a bike too long, like...
I definitely think there's some kids that stay on them too long if they're a big kid, for sure. I was never a big kid, so, like, honestly, I could probably ride an 85 pretty comfortably now, you know? So, I do feel like kids that are on the bigger side for their age or whatever it may be, like, there's definitely some that are, I feel personally, riding them too long, and that they get hurt easier that way, for sure.
Well, let's get into this. I haven't even introduced you guys yet. Brian Bagley, I grew up with racing PW50s, started to race 60s, and then when I petered out, you continued on with the world of moto. You went to big races. You guys raced constantly. You became an NESC fast guy. You spent a lot of time at training facilities and that stuff. You have lived multiple lifetimes of moto inside one lifetime, right? Because if you think a typical lifetime in moto is not that long. To be somebody that's in it your whole life, you got to be a pretty messed up individual. Like, you know, so Brian is one of those guys that was really kind of in it for seat time and you won a bunch of stuff with NESC. You made a dent in, some pretty big races. You were making dents in results there.
Yeah.
And made it all the way until you were, a successful A-rider going to, hang out with Andy and race arena crosses and do that crazy stuff. Yeah. So that's Brian in a nutshell. And now Brian has 2 boys. Yep. Just had baby Drake, so he's got a little one. And then Cole Bagley, who has done his first race. I finally talked you into coming to do Cole's first race on a PW50. Cole just came back from Florida where he was riding at Spider MX and having fun. So Brian has a little guy. Brian, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Andy, Mathieu. Andy's been around since I can remember. You've always been around moto. The Mathieu name is a staple in not only Maine but New England and in Canada. Andy has done the same thing. You spent every weekend at the track. You and your brother Ryan, put the time in, and out of it came, one of the most solid riders I've really ever gotten the pleasure to be around. Like, it's fun to watch you ride. I've never seen you crash. I know you crash.
It happens. Yeah.
Because I see the helmets and I see the damage and broken frames. We won't go down that road. Yeah. But Andy is in the same boat where you've got Cruz, your little dude Cruz, who's 3 now, right?
Yeah, he's 3. Yeah.
And he's a monster on a motorcycle already.
Mm-hmm. He's a big boy.
Yeah, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Now, before we get into kind of your stories and growing up and working with your dads and stuff, what you both have a different view of moto than I did when I was in your spot. When my son was 3, it was, let us get to the track, and if he likes it, dude, that's it. Like, we're going every weekend.
Yeah.
We're riding every single week. Our hour meters just spun, right?
Yeah.
Like, we put time on dirt bikes because I love it. Let's start with you, Andy. We have conversations all the time. You're not excited to start racing with crews.
I mean, it's not that I'm not excited. I'm just, I want to take the time, you know. I mean, I'm 40 years old and still ride a lot, you know. So I don't feel like there's a hurry, you know what I mean? He's got a lot of time to ride. So I really want it to be his idea when we go riding, you know. And he rides quite a bit because it's always, Dad, can I go riding? And that's important to me, you know what I mean? Like, I want it to originate from him, you know. It's easy for him to want to do it because I'm always riding and he's always around dirt bikes. I mean, I do dirt bikes 7 days a week, so he's around it a lot, and you know, he wants to go ride and hang out with Dad and you know, his uncle and his grandfather, and so you know, it's right there for him, you know. But
yeah, and unfortunately for you, he wants to ride the wheels off of everything he's got.
Yeah, he definitely enjoys it, and to me, that's the key ingredient.
Yeah.
You know, it has to originate from him, and he enjoys riding. So as long as he does, we'll keep riding.
Yeah,
and we'll just see what he wants to do. You know.
Now, Brian, it's a little different for you because you don't live the moto lifestyle anymore. You have a job that takes you away from your family during the week, and on the weekends, you know, you try to golf and you try to do all these kind of different things with your kids and your family. You're not at the track every week. Does that affect Cole's, like, want to ride? Does he talk about it a lot, or is he just kind of...
He talks about it a little bit. My thing with Cole, like, people, you know, when I first had Cole, oh, are you going to get him in a ride? Absolutely. If he wants to ride, we'll ride. But I also like to get him into other things. Like, when I was growing up, don't get me wrong, I loved riding. I rode every day. That's all I wanted to do. I played soccer and basketball a little bit. But I kind of missed out on, I don't know, I guess you'd call it normal life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my life was pretty cool being at the track every weekend.
Yeah.
And actually, that's one thing I do like about it. I do want him to experience that too. So it's like, it's a catch-22 with me. It's like, oh, yeah, I would like to be at the track every weekend. Then it's like, man, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But like Andy said, it's got to come from him. He's got to want to do it. If he's like, Dad, I want to ride every day, all right, we're going to ride every day.
Yeah.
But he likes to do a lot of things. He loves sports in general, loves basketball. I got into golf probably 10 years ago, and I play a lot of golf. I'm not a great golfer by any means, but I play a lot of golf, and so naturally he got into golf. He's been swinging the club since he was 1.5 years old. And
I would say, my opinion, because the amount of time like we've spent on a dirt bike with TJ, what we got out of it was like a really cool rider that has awesome form on a dirt bike, right?
Absolutely.
And is really cool to watch. That's what Cole is to golf. Like, if
Yeah.
this little, you know, this little dude just has an unreal swing, and the ball's always going straight down the fairway. And pisses me off because when we're playing, Cole hits it better than I do.
No, he does. Before we went to Florida a few weeks ago, even before we left, he's like, Dad, are we going to ride dirt bikes? I'm like, yeah, bud, we'll ride dirt bikes. So he is into it, for sure. And when we do go to the track, when he's hanging out with TJ, Cruzy, I mean, he's having a blast. And that's what I like out of it, because it socializes them, and they have a blast.
Having fun.
He's with his buddies, you know.
So let's get into that real quick, because you talked about wanting Cole to have that lifestyle that you got to experience. I don't know as if a lot of moto parents out there that haven't lived the life that you guys have lived and the life that I got to see from doing what I did with the media and stuff. I don't know if the parents realize how fast a kid has to grow up in moto, right? Because these kids are given situations that are really like, you're given situations that are given to mature people.
Yeah.
And you're not a mature, like you're a kid.
Yeah.
There are, 12, 13-year-olds that are put in situations with moto because of the fact that they have all this talent and that people look up to them and they say, oh, I'm guilty of it. I've offered a 17-year-old a beer before because, like, I didn't know he was 17.
Right.
I didn't look at him as a 17-year-old, and he had to look at me and go, dude, I'm 17. And I'm like, oh, my God, you're 17. Like, you don't, like, you see a 12-year-old just rip. I'm not going to offer a 12-year-old a beer, but you see him rip on a dirt bike, and then these kids get put in these mature-type situations because they're, like, of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Growing up and living at training facilities and being away from your parents, like, what was the first time, Brian, what was the first time as a kid you were put in a really mature type situation?
Probably one of the first winters I spent with him in Florida. My parents started bringing me down to Florida at a pretty young age, but I was with them.
Yeah.
And then before I even graduated high school, I'd go down for like 2-3 weeks. And then one winter was like a month, and do your schoolwork when you get back type deal. But yeah, you have to grow up pretty quick. Like back then, I wasn't wrenching on my bikes. This dude taught me how to change tires.
Yeah, I've heard that story.
Yeah.
That's pretty ongoing. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Well, I think that was part of the deal, right? Your parents would let you stay down there if you stayed with me, right?
Yeah. Because they knew he was pretty responsible, and I'm pretty sure he taught me how to do laundry.
Yeah. Grocery shopping.
Laundry
and everything, right? And,
Yeah.
Mom always did all that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
I think I heard the story where Brandon Mays got his first tattoo at 13. Because, it's, again, you're doing something that is looked upon as very adult-like. And these kids don't have everything figured out, and they are left to fend for themselves. When did you start leaving the roost, per se, and leaving your dad and your mom to start riding? How old were you?
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, we didn't get to go too far, to go racing. We just, financially, we couldn't, so. But as soon as I turned 18 and graduated high school, I was out. Yeah. I was gone. We went to Florida. Me and my friend Brad, the first winter, barely any money, one bike each, a van and a pop-up camper, and we just figured it out, and I mean, this is before cell phones and stuff, right? So we'd call my parents. I'd call my parents once or twice a week on a payphone, just to check in. I mean, can you imagine your 18-year-old kid is gone and you're not going to hear from him for like half a week, and he's in Florida. You don't know what's going on, It's different times, I can't, for me to think, crews of going down there and doing that and not talking to him at least every day. It's like, man, what's he doing? Is he okay? It makes you grow up because you have no choice, right? I mean, but how do you learn how to do anything? You put yourself in a situation and you sink or swim, right?
Figure it out. Yeah.
And for motocross riders, you got to learn how to swim pretty young.
It's throwing you in the fire. Yeah. It is. I remember starting to travel, and again, like laundry and that stuff, like I was 17 years old, staying on somebody's couch, and like I didn't know what was going on, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, we're going to the bar, get in the truck," and I'm like, "Hey, I'm 17, or get in the van, sorry."
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, dude, you're good. We're going to Tallahassee."
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like, don't worry about it. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I'm 17
You'll find out soon.
in a bar drinking a beer, and I'm like, okay, well, but that. And then there's also, like, you even see it around here. And I'm nervous for TJ kind of growing up in this element or in this environment because of how mischievous it gets. Yeah. Like, there is a mischievous, like, feeling, at the track where, especially if you're at a track for a week or 2 weeks, there's a lot of downtime. If it rains, like, all of a sudden there's 2 weeks, like 2 days of downtime, and these kids are going to get into trouble.
Yeah, they're going to find something to do. And
yeah.
Good or bad.
Look at the grin on him. I know he's gotten into some.
Yeah.
So let's start with kind of how you guys got going. Both of you have iconic fathers in New England Moto.
Yeah.
You know, Brian, Carl, you know, I got to grow up around Carl.
Yeah.
How did you start racing? How did you start getting into it? How did Carl get you into this?
So my dad's always had Harleys.
Yep.
Still has a Harley today for as long as I can remember. And my mom actually has been riding since she was 10, dirt bikes. So naturally, growing up in my house, like if there was a race on TV, like yeah, my dad didn't ride or race dirt bikes, but he thought dirt bikes are cool. My mom rode dirt bikes as a kid. So if it was on TV, we'd watch it. And then I happened to have a neighbor down the road where I grew up that raced locally. And just one weekend, I was 4 at the time, but my dad's like, hey, we're going to go watch Lee race this weekend, Scout League and Sportsman Club. We did that, and I told my parents I want a dirt bike. And 5th birthday came around, I got a dirt bike. And it didn't start out great. My dad put me on it and was like, you know, showed me the throttle, brakes, whatever. And I'd been riding a bicycle since I was 2, so like he knew I'd be all right. Just, yeah, you're good, you balance, whatever. Well, I hopped on it and I gave it a handful. And he had thought he had just did the governor like on the PW. What he did was he just tightened the throttle down. So when I twisted it, it stuck. I fell off the back. To this day, I don't know how this happened. I've never seen it happen to anyone else. But as I fell off the back of the bike, my ankle, well, my right leg got wedged between the triple clamps and the tank. And I had got going so much, there's enough momentum going. It literally dragged me in a circle like that. And yeah, that was how I got started.
Yeah,
it took me. I think I didn't touch the bike again for like a month or so, and I'd freak out. Dad, don't start it, don't start it. And he's like, we're just gonna bring it to the top of the driveway, bro. You just ride down it like a bicycle. Did that a few times.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna start it. No, don't start it. Just let it idle. Don't touch the throttle. Idled down the driveway a few times, and then took off from there and
then kicked my ass every weekend ever since.
It wasn't every weekend, but
I have a photo. I was going through old photos this week because I had to send some stuff to Paul. And I found a photo of me, and I was obviously getting a hole shot. There's a bunch of P-dubs behind me, and Corey Silva's back there.
Yeah.
And Norma is in the photo, and she's looking behind me.
Yeah.
But you're not there. I can't find
I
you.
always got bad starts.
So I know Brian.
Even back then.
I know Brian was there behind me. I just don't have photo proof.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take Norma looking back, your mom, as photo proof that I hole shotted you.
I'm sure you did.
You know what's funny, because it almost seems like Cole, your boy, has a black cloud that follows him a little bit too with his PW50 and even his Stay Sick and the Strider.
Yeah.
Like the kid, if there's ever if there's a start gone bad, he's in the middle of it.
Yep.
If there's someone riding over aggressive coming through the pack, Cole's going to get wrapped up with him. Has he started to get that frustration? Can you feel that from him that you started with? Or
Yeah, he definitely... So he looks like his mom, but he's a spitting image of me as far as personality goes. He's got a little temper on him.
Yeah.
And, he gets pretty frustrated, but... what I do see in him and what I do like is he's super competitive.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, like, it's to a point where, like, he can kind of be a bad loser, and I don't like that either. Like, I want him to, be a good sport and whatnot, so we've been working on that with him. But I do like that he is, like, competitive.
Yeah.
Because I think it's good to be competitive. It gives kids drive and whatnot.
Yeah, and you
but
see...
the black cloud thing, he gets that
he's
for
got-
me. Yeah, I see it, man. I see it big time. It's like, oh.
Oh, man.
But
So, how Andy, I don't really know how you got going in this sport. How did you and your brother get into this?
Yeah, so I didn't start riding until I was 8.
Oh my God! How are you faster than me?
Oh, it's crazy, right? 8. I mean, I was.
You didn't
know,
start till you're 8, and you got this
Yeah, that's
fast.
why
It's
he's
amazing.
going so long.
Isn't that crazy?
Unreal.
I started late.
He's
I
a
keep
late-
going.
You started
Yeah.
after I burned my kid out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you were done when I got started.
Yeah.
No, my dad raced in the 70s. My dad and my uncle, and yeah, I always liked dirt bikes and stuff. But they went to car racing. So when I was a little kid, my dad was racing stock cars. So when I was real little, we were at the stock car track a lot, watching that stuff. And I was growing up in the 80s, so BMX was huge.
Yeah.
So where we were living, there was a ton of kids that were older than me in the neighborhood, and there was tons of BMX tracks and stuff around the area, right in my neighborhood. So I liked riding BMX, like that was my thing, And when my dad first asked me if I wanted a dirt bike, I think I was probably, I don't know, maybe 5 or something like that, and I was like, yeah, I'm good. I just want to ride BMX.
Yeah.
So I wasn't into it, and then a few years went by, and I decided I wanted a bike. So he was all right. So we went and bought a bike from your dad.
What was the first one?
It was a 1986 Honda XR80.
Nice.
Right? So back then there was a lot less choices for bikes, right?
Yeah.
You realized that was the year I was born.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Just letting you know.
Yeah, that's
86 XR80.
86 XR80. Yeah, and we were going back and forth between a Z50,
Yep.
the old chrome,
Oh,
silver
yeah.
chrome tank Z50, or an XR80, and your dad, Joe, was like, I think he's a big kid. I think he'll grow into the 80. So talking like what Brian was saying, like the bike was too big for me.
Yeah.
So the first year, I grew into it a little bit, and I figured out how to use it, and it was straight off clutch and shifting and everything like that. So, but I figured it out, and mostly trail rode around the house and just had fun riding around. And same, we went to like Skowhegan, watched a guy that my dad worked with. He wanted to go race, so we went and watched him. I thought that was really cool. Wally Silva was there.
Yep.
Just happened to be going to a Skowhegan just to play around. He was
Yep.
a top NESC expert at the time, and I had never seen anybody ride a dirt bike like that. I mean, Arm 125, late 80s Fox gear, like there was nothing cooler.
Yeah.
It was like the
Yeah.
coolest thing I ever
Yeah.
saw. I was
Yeah.
like, this is unreal. So then I really started thinking about racing stuff. And I remember we're grocery shopping, my mom and I, and I'm in the magazine aisle, and there's a
Dirt bike mag.
dirt bike mag. I still have the magazine, and I begged my mom to get that magazine, so she buys it, and it was Damon Bradshaw's rookie year. Number 45 on a YZ125, same thing, Fox, polka dot, Fox, coolest stuff, And I saw that picture of Damon Bradshaw, and that literally, I was like, yup, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That was that moment. I'm like, yup. And since that point, it's been full steam. Like, Dad, I want to race.
Yeah.
Let's, and first race was on that XR80, open face helmet,
Nice.
jeans,
Yeah.
Honda jersey,
Yeah.
and,
That's awesome.
that was it for me.
Yeah.
Like, it was, from that point on, my mind was
Did
made
your
up.
brother start at the same time? Was it?
So my brother started, my parents were always, everything's going to be even, right? So Andy started when he was 8, Ryan's going to start when he was 8. So my brother's 4.5 years younger than me.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
he through that period until he got to that age, he was obviously the track way more, running around, chasing me around. Same thing. He loved riding his BMX bike. And then when he was 8, he started as well. And we kind of figured things out a little bit with me, and it was a little bit
That's cool.
smoother sailing for him, because
Yeah.
we kind of learned some things, what not to do and what to do. So
Scout Vegas. Did
Scout
we
Vegas.
all? I think that was my first race.
Yeah,
Scout
mine.
Vegas. Little
Yeah.
hole in the wall.
Yeah.
If it rained, it was impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a perfect place to go and start.
Yeah.
it was.
Low pressure,
Yeah.
rubber band start.
Yep.
I was petrified of that thing.
Man, that thing caught you.
Oh.
Yeah.
They did the rubber band start for the ice race for the kids
Yep.
they?
last weekend. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, nostalgic.
Yeah.
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 So, Brian, we'll start with you, with Carl, because again, Carl's he's the man. Like, he's so cool to be around your dad.
Yeah.
He was always awesome to be around. But I think both of your dads carried a kind of a weight of what they expected, right?
Yeah,
Like there, you
100%.
could feel that,
Yeah.
right? What was it like, growing up, with Carl at the track?
It could be intense sometimes, but super competitive. My dad was, he didn't grow up racing or whatever, but he rode, but he was super big fan of the sport, and we watched every race. I have every national Supercross taped since the early 90s. So, like, just because he didn't race, he knew what needed to happen on the track. And like most dads, he knows his son like the back of his hand. So I used to kind of give him a little hard time. Like, hey, why aren't you doing that jump, blah, blah, blah. I'd throw it back at him like, well, why don't you go out and do it? And he'd come back at me, and I think about it nowadays. It's like, he's like, well, I'm not the one that has the skill to do it. I know what skill you have, what you're capable of. So the biggest thing with him was just give it 100%, give it your best. There were some intense times, but honestly, I look back on it, and I mean, I was a lucky kid. Both my parents put their heart and soul into it. Yeah. We weren't rich by any means. My dad's a truck driver, still driving truck. And, they were all in. And it was great growing up doing it. Like, it was unreal, really.
Andy, you were the same way, and I was, obviously we were all the same way. Like, we weren't rich by any means, but I always had a bike that we knew would make it through the race, right? There was always that level of expectation that your bike is good, right? My dad always had my bikes good. I mean, you had the same thing, only you had your brother that was racing. Like, What was it? When did your parents really catch the bug? Because you want to talk about bug. Carl had the bug. Yeah. Like Brian, they would stop off the highway on the way to races just to put laps
7 days a week
in a sand pit, right?
Yeah.
So, like, when did your dad catch the bug?
Me, it was a little different. So for me, I was always pushing for more. It was 100% generated for me. We got into racing. My dad's like, well, we can go racing and we'll have fun, and he was, like an average B rider back in the day. So he didn't have like crazy expectations or anything like that. And, stemming right back from what I was saying about seeing Damon Bradshaw in the magazine, like I was all in. Yeah. I was like, Dad, I want to be, like Wally Silva, or, we saw JoJo Keller for the first time at Bull Run, Keith Johnson. I mean, all these NESC legends. And I'm like, these guys were larger than life. And I'm like, I want to be just like them. And my dad was always very, like, I don't want to even say realistic, but like he didn't he didn't pump you up. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's like, I don't know if you're going to be able to do it,
Right.
But we'll, and I'm like, no, I can do it, and so it was always me going for more, trying to push him, and it was tough. I mean, we didn't have much money, so I had X amount of races I could do a year, and I wanted to perform at every single one of those races. If I didn't perform and if something went wrong, like I was devastated, because I didn't. Maybe we weren't racing for 2-3 weeks, So it stayed when you're a kid, and it's everything to you, So it stayed with me. So I put a lot of pressure on myself. Once my dad kind of saw that I was progressing, then he started expecting me to be at a certain level. You know what I mean? It built a little bit, but it's always been me pushing for more, and my family trying to, go with that.
Is there any, and this is I don't know off the top of my head, but are there any really successful riders that were kind of a derivative of their dad wanting it more than the kid? Have we ever seen like a really highly successful rider where that's been the case?
I mean, I don't think it's possible.
Think so. No.
I don't think it's possible, No. I don't. You can't will somebody to do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't believe you can. I think it needs to come. it needs to come from within the kid.
For sure.
And I honestly, back then the struggle was like, man, it's like, geez, I wish we had this, and I wish we had a pipe for the bike or whatever.
Right.
But that struggle, I mean, I think that's critical.
Yeah.
You need to have that.
Yeah.
You
Gotta
got
have something to strive for.
You gotta have that desire. It builds desire. So.
And that's where it's tough to be where we're at now, because I wouldn't say all three of us are the most successful people in the world, but we have money to spend, right?
Yep.
We've done decent at life where if I want to buy my son a dirt bike, I'll just go buy him a dirt bike. If I want to buy him a pipe, I'll just buy him a pipe.
That's where I struggle a little bit, because
Dude,
I know in my head I'm like, man, I'm really spoiling this kid.
Yeah, not too much.
But like, I love making his bike look sick. I want him in the best gear, just to be safety, and like I always like to look good in a ride. I feel like if you look good, you're gonna ride good. That might be a stupid analogy, but
dude, TJ has 4 $800 helmets.
oh yeah, Cole's on his third helmet. It's because he's got a big head. But
When I bought the 4th helmet, my wife goes, What?
Yeah.
I go, I don't know. I just bought it. I don't know.
I know. I'm like that too. Megan's like, really? Did you just get? I'm like, look how sick this is.
Yeah,
like,
this looks sweet. Look how cool he's gonna
That's how
look.
we were with him with the Stasic. When I was working out in California, I had them out there with me, and we were bringing them to Thousand Oaks. They have this awesome bicycle park. He's ripping on the Strider, and we're like, I had his PW50 out there, still in training wheels though, and he wasn't quite big enough to ride it yet. And that's when the Stasic came out, and we just popped into a bike shop. I had the idea of maybe buying a brand new PW.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and I'm like, even my wife Megan's like, yeah, he's got to have that.
Yeah.
I'm like, yep, we'll take that. Yeah, come on over.
And I think it, and I think about what we're doing with our kids. And the thing is like, I don't want to starve TJ of something, because I think one day it's going to help him be a pro at something, right? You have to be realistic.
Yeah.
Like your dad, that story of your dad is so refreshing, because you have to be realistic in this sport.
Yeah.
In any sport. My brother-in-law was playing D1 football, and he was like, this is it. I'm going to play D1 football as a running back. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to get, scholarships, and I want to play professional football. Like that was his thing. ACL.
Yeah.
And the most painful knee injury like we've ever experienced. Like we had to all go through it as a family, and he just, after that, he was like, no. So it's like it happens so quick. So I'm not going to starve my family and my kid of not having a good time and not having cool gear and not have it. Like if we can do it, let's do it.
Yeah.
So it's like you hear those stories. I hope somebody's not out there starving their kid of good equipment or good things so that one day they can earn it. It's like, you got to earn it, but still, like...
Yeah, there's a line, to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
obviously,
whatever they're riding, you want
to be safe.
It's safe.
Buy one $800 helmet, please. Buy one $800 helmet. Do not put them in a concussion bucket.
Exactly.
So, no, this is great. We're gonna take one quick break because my beer is empty, and I'm sure yours is too.
Yeah.
So, take one break. Coming back from break.
Yep.
Oh, geez, don't knock the table down. So yeah, coming back from break. As you can tell, we didn't talk about it before, but we are at the EJP race shop, and there is history on the wall here. We've got, how many cool guys have raced for EJP? There's been, I think, Denny Hamlin. I have the list that I should look at. But up on the wall, we have a Pastrana race suit, one of his Subaru race suits. We've got a Prescott jersey up there, some sick helmets. On the other side of the wall right here, we have Team Iceland number plates. We have some cool trophies that you've won. We have a Brian Bagley number plate over there. I'm the only one in this group that has not ridden for Team EJP. So, and it's probably going to stay that way.
Yeah. Well,
Hey, man, that
Hey.
class.
Vet class.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sportsman class went away for
yeah, that
Loretta's.
VC class went away pretty quick, huh? Yeah.
So,
Whoops.
yeah.
all right, let me check my notes here real quick. So let's talk about traditional sports. Brian, you played a few traditional sports growing up. I played a little bit of like basketball. I did skiing. Is there anything like what do you want to do with your boys beyond the dirt bike?
Anything but baseball.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat.
Fun sport to play, but I'd rather watch paint dry.
Yeah.
No, if he wants to play baseball, he can play baseball, but
Yeah.
I just hope not.
He's gonna love it.
Yeah, no, honestly, he likes it all, man.
Yeah.
Like he would love to play baseball. He really likes all sports. He doesn't like watch sports, but like honestly, like the whole stick and ball thing, like he's right into it. Loves golf, which is sweet because I love golf. So
Yeah.
honestly, like I play a lot of golf, and I played with him. He's the only guy I played with, except for maybe you once last summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I play with him every day. Well, not every day, but like quite
As
a
much
bit.
as you can.
Yeah, as much as we can, and likes basketball. I played basketball as a kid. My best years racing were probably when I was playing basketball still, because it was kind of like cross training in a way. At that age I wasn't really training, but like I rode a lot and I was playing basketball. I was playing soccer too. Got to a point where I got sick. I got mono, so the doctor's like, yeah, you should probably pick a sport.
Yeah.
And my parents asked me, hey, what do you want to do? I'm like, obviously I picked the dirt bikes, the most expensive sport. And I still played basketball, and I'm up for whatever Cole wants to do. But I think it's good for kids to play regular stick and ball sports as well as ride. It just breaks it up, you know, and yeah.
I think you lose some of that team aspect with moto, because
I struggled with that so that was kind of why I got out of playing basketball. Like I only played 1 year of high school ball, mainly because I was hurt from racing. But I did struggle with that because when you're racing, it's just you.
Yeah.
You're responsible. On a team, you could be given 100%, but if your teammate's not giving 100%, it's like, what are we doing here?
You lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard when you're playing well, but the rest of the team's
Yeah,
not, and you
I
lose.
struggle with that a lot. And
That's
don't
hard,
get me wrong, there's probably some games where I probably wasn't given 100%.
Right.
What did you play growing up?
Man, I didn't play any sports.
My
No,
God, that's
no.
what's wrong with you.
I really liked hockey.
Yeah.
I would have played hockey, but hockey's an expensive sport.
Yeah.
And it came down to we
rough, too.
gotta choose one. We can afford to play hockey, or we can afford to ride dirt bikes, and for me that was it. So I played a lot of pond hockey when I was a kid growing up, and I liked playing soccer and stuff. And I actually used it when I was young in grade school. I would go to the training with the soccer team and train with the soccer team, but I wouldn't go. I wasn't on the team because on the weekends we were going racing dirt bikes. So.
Yeah.
I was always pretty athletic, but I just, it was dirt bikes and that was it.
Dirt bikes.
Yeah.
And so there's two different things going on with you two. You guys both have, I would say, the same amount of experience in motocross, right? You guys, if I have a question about dirt bikes, I call two people. I'll call Andy or I'll call Brian.
Mm-hmm.
But Brian, we've sat around the fire, at a dirt bike track, and people have asked you, "Who are you?
Yeah.
What do you have you ever seen a dirt bike
Right.
before?
Yeah.
Do you think, and you're always very humble in your answers, which is admirable. Do you think this is a sport where you die fast when you fall when you go away? Do you?
Yeah. I do. Yeah.
Sure
And-
is.
And Andy, everybody knows who you are because you're just out there leading every race around here. And
Yeah, but honestly, I went to Canada for 4 or 5 years, and I was basically not around, and
Yeah.
it was like I disappeared. And when I came back, it was new faces, and they didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I mean, some people did. Had been around for a while, but the new people, they had no idea who this guy was. Who I was. So yeah, it's quick, man. If you're not around, it doesn't take long before. Who's this guy?
Yeah.
It's
I got a rude awakening of that when I came back. I took 8 years off, and then I, signed up to do the 125 All-Star race. He was, good enough to let me ride his bike, EJP. But before that, preparing for that, I did a local race at Heman's, and I hadn't been around for 8 years. And they had a 125 class, like a little, I won't call it an exhibition, but that day they were just like, yeah, we're going to have a 2-stroke class. And I line up, and I had a good battle with a young kid, the first moto, and lining up at the gate for the second moto. My wife comes over with Cole, and the kid looks at me, he goes, "You're a dad?"
Yeah.
And I go, "Yeah." And then we get talking, and he's like, "Where are you from?" Like, "Oh, I'm from here in Maine." "Yeah, you've been racing a long time?" I go, "Well, I did, yeah, from when I was 5 till I was 25. He's like, "Well, how old are you?" And by the time I was 32, I was like,
Yeah.
He's like, "Wow." I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I'm old now." You know?
Yeah.
And that, I've said it a million times, and I'll say it again. That's what I'm most disappointed in myself for, is when I quit racing. I miss those years where you start to understand how to go that fast, right? Because once you get to that point, like, you don't know how to go slower than you know how to go, right? I don't know how to go that fast, right? So that's what my hope is for TJ, is like, stay in it, like, enjoy the sport, and get to that point where when your buddies want to go ride, because we all know when these kids grow up, they're not going to be, their dirt bike buddies are not going to be vet B riders. They are going to be fast A riders, right? So when you grow up, I want him to be able to go ride with his buddies that are fast A riders, because I'm jealous, Bri, Andy, we could go to a track. We could go to Chad Reed's, and you can ride the pro track. I can't. I just can't.
Yes, you can. You just need to have.
I know, but
you sell yourself short, buddy.
But still, like, there's, and like the corner speed and everything, like, it's like there, you get to a level where that just doesn't go away, right? Your brain knows how to go that fast, and it's a brain thing, Yeah. So, like, that's my hope for him, is like get to that point where you're confident and you can go really fast on a dirt bike. Because when you're 35, like, I would love somebody to walk up to my kid when he's 35 and be like, "How old are you?" Like, that's a testament to, like, that's a really cool feeling, So, I gotta ask. I'll start with you, Andy. What's your best Moto Dad story?
Oh man.
Oh, my best Moto Dad story.
Jeez, you should have prepared me. I got a lot of them.
Jeez.
Oh my god.
You know what? My dad personally was pretty good. Like, he got excited. You know what I mean? But he, for the most part, kept it in check. If I made a stupid mistake or something like that, he would get wound up, and there's pictures of him with his arms in the air, and I'm just like,
I just remember your dad pacing.
Man. So my aunt used to have this big VHS recorder, and she would come to the races and film my races. Well, my dad would be standing right next to her. So he's just, he can get that guy, and it was never like, swearing at me or just freaking out, but it was all, he wanted me to do good, which, I mean, every dad wants their kid to do good, right? So he never stopped talking and everything like that, but he was good, it was, for the most part, constructive, right? But honestly, that the first winter that I went to Florida, 18 years old, I went down and did the winter amps. Davey Millsaps, Bobby Canary, Kyle Chisholm, these guys were riding mini bikes. And I had never seen dads just screaming at their kids, and like, I remember Canary's dad, his bike blew up, right? And he DNF'd the race. I mean, what are you going to do? The bike blew up, and I mean, he's in the trailer crying, and I'm like, wow, this is like too much. Like, nobody's having fun here. You know what I mean? This is like, we've lost what it's supposed to be. And that's the first time that I really saw, like, high-level guys at a young age, how intense, like, wow, this is like next level.
Yeah.
Like these guys it's crazy, to me. So that's one thing that sticks with me.
And it's like that in all sports.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think that in moto, there are so many outside forces that you don't, like, a dad can't, like, you can't fix with yelling at somebody, right? You're not going to fix like Bobby Canary blowing up a dirt bike. Like,
yeah, I mean, you're mad at the situation. What, you know, it is what it is. I mean, nothing's a guarantee. It's a piece of machinery, I mean, the bike can break and you can get hurt,
Yeah.
To me, that's way worse, if the bike blows up and your kid is hurt. It's a dangerous sport. There's so many variables that can happen.
Bogle just said on a podcast, he just said, like, yeah, my season's been rough. I think it's DNQ, DNF, DSQ. Disqualified, right?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, that's terrible. But also, Colt Nichols is his
Just
roommate.
got out of the hospital.
Right.
We just picked him up from the hospital.
Yeah.
So I'm good. When we leave the track, because I've left the track a couple of times where TJ has DNF'd a moto because he's fallen or something happens and he'll come up to me and say, I don't want to race the last moto. Or if there's anything like that, we get in the car. The first thing I say to my wife is like, hey, everything happens for a reason.
That's right.
Everybody's healthy and we're going home happy.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't race to be scared and those types of things, but everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, when things go bad, I mean, it's life lessons, right? It's not just motocross lessons. Like, it's life lessons.
Yep.
Like, you're facing adversity. Like, life is not a cakewalk, whether you're racing dirt bikes or you're going for a job or you're doing anything, right? It's not going to be a cakewalk. So you have to face adversity and figure things out, One thing with my dad, I remember one time, it was my first race ever on a 125. I started riding 125s when I was 13 because I was a big kid. We had to get off low bikes. So I was young, and I crashed. Just gnarly crash, and I'm hurt. And I'm on the side of the track. My dad's there on the side of the track. He's like, can you get up? Yup. Is the bike going to run? Yup, I think so. We're good. Finish the race.
Yep.
And I got back on the bike and I rode around and I finished the race. And you know what? I went in the second moto and I won the second moto.
Yeah.
I would have just given up. I would have went back to the truck. We would have been done. We went back home and that's it. Instead, I won the second moto, and that's, to me, that's facing adversity, and it's life lessons. And that's stuck with me to this day. That stuff that you learn at a young age, that carries through your whole life. I really believe that. So
we got to have that moment with TJ this year at the Racer X main event where it was the last moto of his 4 to 6 class, and he was in third. So with TJ, it's tough because he'll get into a rhythm and then he rides, right? He's a solid rider, right? Yeah. So we'll get a good start, get into a rhythm, and then he's riding. I've never once seen him go, just flip a switch and just go, right? Just make passes. Mm-hmm. And at the Racer X main event, final moto, he was top 3. He flipped a switch and he was going. And I remember going, I've never seen that before. The next lap he came around, I will always remember this. I go, tell him to slow down. In the back of my head, I go, just tell him to chill. Mm. But I couldn't. I go, let's go, because I was pumped. Yeah. Got kicked going down 95, and one of the worst wrecks he's ever had. No one saw it, but another dad was the first one to get there. Then I got there, then Alicia got there, and then we put him back on the bike. We said, hey, if you can stand up, you get back on the bike. He got back on the bike and he finished, and then went out later that day on his bigger bike and raced really well. But it was a bad situation. He was crying. It was a bad situation, but he finished the day. Right. And because of that, we left there feeling okay. We didn't get, there were no trophies that day, but... Right. Man, we left there feeling really good.
Yeah. Didn't give up.
Didn't give up. Yeah. But what's your Moto Dad story? You gotta have one.
I have so many. One that sticks out for my dad, like I said, he's a truck driver. Still doing it today. Wish he'd retired now, but he's going to stick it out, I guess. But anyway, back I was racing 80s, and he delivers to all the major lumber yards in the state of Maine. And once a month, he would have to deliver the tip-top state of Maine, St. Agatha.
Oh, boy.
And he's delivering up there, whatever lumber yard, and he hears dirt bikes. You can hear it. And he's looking up the hill, like, and then they're close. And then he sees someone, like, hits like a big triple.
Yeah.
He's just like, no way. Ended up being at the Long Lake restaurant up there. Drives a semi right up to the restaurant, right to the top. It just so happens there was some guys riding, and Team Green in Canada was there. I don't know who the riders were, but he said they had like box fans, whatever, and there was an 80 rider and a 125 rider, and he watched the 80 rider, and the kid was really good, I guess. And he got talking to the guy that was running the track. I don't know who he was, but he said, "Hey, you guys have races?" "Yeah, we have a race this weekend," and this is on a Friday, mind you. And St. Agatha is almost 6 hours from where we live. And he's still doing his routes, you know. He's still got to deliver, you know, to all these lumber yards. He left there, did his deliveries, and then he's supposed to stay over. He ended up turning his run, as you would say, drove all the way home, called my mom, you know, and I don't know if back then, I don't think they had cell phones back then. It's a payphone, something. It's like, hey,
get the bikes ready.
Start getting the bikes ready. Tell Brian, start getting his gear ready. Yep, we loaded the rig up, the motorhome trailer. He got home, picked us up, and we went right back up.
Unreal.
Because he wanted me to race this kid. We got there, the kid's not there racing that weekend.
Oh,
So it was just like a little local race, but unreal track. I wish it was still around to this day because the track was unbelievable. Just stuff like that. My dad was just like so committed. Like, it's just like crazy to me.
That track is one track that we went to where I remember your dad telling you to not jump the jumps.
Yeah.
Not what?
Not jump the jumps.
Really?
Yeah, they had this like
Huge
100
jumps.
some odd foot triple step down, and I ended up doing it on my 80, and I was landing so hard the forks are moving in the triple clamps. I ended up breaking like the caps off the top of the forks. But yeah, he kept telling us, "Brian, you don't like," because when I ended up doing that local race, there was like 4 or 5 kids in the class. Like the competition wasn't the best, and he's like, "There's no need for you to do this jump."
Oh man!
But track was unbelievable. To this day, I mean, I've been a lot of places. That track was right up there as one of the best tracks I've ever ridden.
Now that reminds me, Brian, you are probably most famous for breaking 2 PW frames at Bull Run. Did you break them both at Bull Run?
I don't know if I broke them both. I did break one.
Now, Paul Buckley has a photo, I think, right?
Yeah.
Is it Paul?
I can't remember if it was Paul
or Mark Cart.
No, it was Photo Pete. I don't know which one.
We got to dig this photo up.
I do. I have it at the house. I got a poster of it.
Brian's on his PW50 like miles above the dirt.
Yeah, I didn't land that one though.
No,
I got knocked out.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
Yeah, raced the second moto though. Things have changed.
Back then, concussion protocol.
Yeah, wasn't good.
You're fine.
Thought I was at Southwick.
So who is, we got a couple Moto Dad stories in there. Who is, Brian, I'll start with you. Who's a Moto Dad right now that you look up to?
Right now? Oof. Jeez. I don't know. I'm kind of disconnected from like the local scene.
Well, you spend a lot. So you do you watch a lot of content on YouTube. You listen to podcasts.
Yeah,
is there anybody that like kind of sticks out? Like, you're not at the track all the time, so.
I mean, this might sound super cliche and like whatever, but honestly, like, you want a good follow Chad Reed's YouTube channel. What he's doing with his kids, granted, I don't know Chad. I just watched him race for years, and I guess he's a big deal to most people whenever. And I personally got to meet him last winter. I went to Moto 40, the track that he helps run, and just seeing him interact with us regular people, like he's just a normal dude. And I do follow his YouTube channel and how he is with, his 3 kids. He's just a normal dude, awesome moto dad. And what I like about him, he's not pushing them to go be the fastest kid. He wants them to learn how to ride right.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal to me. Like, honestly, that's why I was kind of hesitant to let Cole race so quickly, because I want him to learn how to ride right and be safe, and I just want him to overall be safe and ride with safe riders. And what I see what Chad's doing to his kids, I'm impressed with. Like, I knew he'd be a good teacher for them, but like, I didn't know how he was gonna be. If he was gonna be like super like, no, like if we're gonna do this, you're gonna, you gotta ride like this much. No, like his kids want to ride, and he's doing a lot of fundamentals with them and how he goes about it, and he's tough on them too, as far as like, if they make a stupid mistake, like he tells them like, hey, that was really dumb, but this is why it was dumb.
Yeah.
I really respect that. I like that.
You said something cool there where you said you wanted Cole to be around safe riders.
Yeah.
And it's tough because like we went to Minios, and honestly, if you don't get a good start and you're running top 20, you're with some kids that are a little all over the place. And it was tough for me because Travis isn't that speed yet. He's not that top 20, like he's not that top speed, but I feel, at least I feel he's got the control of a rider that can ride up there. Yeah. So I feel the same way with him. Like he's in a group of kids that are doing all this stuff, and I'm like, but if you just go a little bit, you'd be a lot more safer on the track, Yeah. But that's cool. Chad does have an awesome thing going right now, and what's funny about you growing up racing BMX is like his kids have been racing BMX for a while. They were racing, doing a lot of BMX.
Yeah, nationals and stuff.
Yeah.
Who's a dad that you look up to? I mean, you spend a lot more time at the track.
Yeah. I can't really think of somebody in particular.
Thank you. I know I'm pretty good. I know.
I really find it interesting to just observe how the different dads handle it. There's a pretty good contrast between fathers that have raced themselves and what I like to call first generation, like you're just getting your kid into it, right? You can race or whatever. So there's a big difference between the two. I really like to take it serious, but at the same time, like keep your emotions in check at the races, which is really hard to do. Yeah. Even if you say, hey, I'm going to be completely calm today, when you get into a situation where, maybe your kid got pushed out or you don't like something, like how do you stay calm in that situation?
Yeah, chew on my tongue.
Yeah.
It's tough, right? So I can tell you some that I've seen that I like the way they did it, and I think they do it the right way. Justin Cajinos, his father, they obviously take it super serious. He just won a title of Loretta's this year, which is awesome. You can tell they're serious.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've never seen him screaming. If he makes a mistake, there's nothing you can do on the sidelines that's going to fix it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
All you can do is go back and talk about what happened and try not to do it twice.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like that approach. That to me is the biggest thing. You know what I mean? Like let's take what we learned and go back and try to fix the mistakes and not just blow up on the moment, because it's not going to do you a bit of good.
You talk about how uncontrollable or unable to control anything as a dad, right? You can't control anything. You're just a bystander, right? Brian, how did that feel the first race with Cole? How did that?
I wanted to puke on the line. I thought I was lining up because I was always even when I raced, no matter how confident I was or whatever, I could be at a local race, I could be at a national. I wanted to puke on the line, always. Nerves are always high, excited, but just nerves are always high for me. And, that day, lining Cole up, I felt exactly the same way. Like,
Yeah.
it was because Cole did his first race when he was 4, and you could just tell he knew he was just going out to ride. And I was glad that he had that mindset. Like, yeah, I tell him, yeah, this is your first race or whatever, but it was cool to see in his eyes, like, yeah, you know, I'm just going out to race.
Yeah.
And it was awesome being there by his side, but I wanted to vomit.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to puke. Like, I was super nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's cool to see. Like, I was super pumped for him. Like, did he set the world on fire? No, and I didn't
Yeah.
want him to. I just wanted him to go out and have fun
Yeah.
and finish. And
It
was awesome.
I always think back because TJ had done a few races and he was having fun, and I took him down to Marshfield, and I
Yeah.
just remember I was just being typical Travis
Yeah.
on race day, you know, and
Yeah.
I'm like, and Matt Woodman had
Yep.
to literally like pull me aside and say, "Look, bud, calm down,
Yeah.
like calm down." And
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't, dude. Like I'm
Very amped up.
nervous.
Yeah.
You know, like TJ's going out there. He's racing against Bryson. Like
Yeah.
I'm just nervous, and he's like, "Dude, just relax."
Yeah.
Are you excited for your first gate drop? Are we gonna get a Cruz Mathieu gate drop?
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to race last year. He's so young, you know what I mean? Like, he looks like he's
I know.
5. He's
It's
big,
deceiving. You look at
but
Cruz.
he's so
and
young, you know.
You
And
think he's 7 years old.
Yeah.
yeah, he's you know, he's a big kid, and you know, like, I thought about putting him on a KTM Mini already because he's physically big enough to ride
believe
it.
I bet.
But mentally, I'm like, he's 3.
Yeah.
Like, when he wants to go fast, he rides pretty good, but he might see a butterfly and want to go play with it because he's 3. Like, he doesn't. He
That's
doesn't
deceiving.
understand yet, you know.
Yeah.
So, and how can you be mad at him for
No.
Yeah.
seeing
Yeah,
something
no.
and wanting to go play with it? Like,
Yeah.
he's just so young. So, if he wants to race this year, we're gonna let him race. He's gonna be 4 in May.
Yeah.
We'll let him
He's ready.
race.
He's ready.
I'm not gonna push him to. He's gonna have to say, "Dad, I want to race."
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll go race. Same with what Brian was saying. Like, he's competitive. Like, you know, we do little games at home, running around. Like, he has to win. If he doesn't win,
Yeah.
he throws a fit. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
when
And
we
then
start
you gotta
racing,
play-
you're
then,
gonna get.
then you got to play until they win. It's
Yeah.
just like, oh
yeah,
man.
it's like,
Yeah.
man, if you don't like losing, this is not going to be a good sport
Yeah,
because you're
yeah.
going to lose.
Yeah,
You know?
that's what I told Cole.
Um,
Yeah.
So, you know, we'll have to see how that all goes, and if he wants to ride and race.
And that's
we will,
another reason
you know?
why I do, like, I am like 50-50 with it. Like, oh, do I want to push him to race? Or, no, it's dangerous and, like, it's just a lot of work. What I do like about the racing is, like, it teaches them competitiveness and it teaches them to work towards something.
Yeah.
Like, just doing the Stasic races and the Strider races. Like, he sees his buddies getting trophies and he's like, he's having a meltdown because he's getting trophies. It's like,
Yeah.
well, bud, you gotta work for it and you gotta go
Yep.
faster.
Yep.
Like, you want that, and
Yep.
you gotta work for it. So it teaches them, you know.
And it's hard with TJ to motivate him to even want that. You know, like I took him to the podium. For every podium in his class at Minios,
Yeah.
we went to the podium, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't even in the main events. He made one main event, went did his thing. I still took him to the podium for that main event. And I was like, check it out. And there's a kid with the #1 plate, and he watches it and he likes it. And then, you know, a couple days later, he'd be like, hey, I kind of want to, you know, stand on the podium.
Yeah.
It's like, well, bud, you got to work for it.
Yep.
And that's what I like about moto is it's you, right? And it's just like with golf, right? You never talk smack about golf, ever. Don't ever be like, oh, I'm going to smoke you at golf, because golf will humble your ass.
So I wish I played golf as a kid. My mother offered me numerous times. One of the many times I'm laid up in the hospital. Do you want to take up golf or something? I'll buy you all the clubs and golf balls you want.
Yeah.
And I looked at her back then, no. But I wish, I mean, I would have never quit moto, but I wish I would have played golf as a kid, because golf is hands down the most mentally tough sport.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that. I don't care how good you are. One day you have it, one shot you have it, the next you don't. Like, you got to be so focused. I mean, you got to be focused in moto too. But, like,
You never
But-
master it, right?
Yeah.
That's
you
the thing,
never,
right? Yeah.
never master it. So that's why I'm stoked to get him into golf
Yeah.
at a young age, because I mean he's just like me. He gets all flustered, and I have to like remind him, "Hey, boy, don't get flustered." And I should actually take some of my own advice.
Yeah.
'Cause
I've seen
I'm
the
a bit
club
of
go
a,
flying.
yeah, I'm a bit of a hothead
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
But I feel like it teaches them like real discipline, like
Yeah.
to be mentally strong, and that's what I lacked as a racer. I wasn't mentally strong. I could light the world on fire in practice. Come race time, like I would drop the ball. Like I was so like obsessed with being like I wasn't perfect by any means, but like not making a mistake. And if I did make a mistake, I'd dwell on it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That was my downfall. And
Well, what do you think happened to Marvin this weekend?
yeah, that was something. That was
You know,
wild.
yeah, I mean,
I didn't
that's-
see that happen.
Muskin goes from leading
Yeah.
3 laps to what, 10th?
But that
Yeah.
I mean that's 100% mental, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's 100% mental.
Yeah, that
And
was
I'm
mental.
Sure
that
we-
wasn't physical at all.
Yeah.
Like he all day and all leading into the night, he was one of the fastest guys. And
Yeah.
you're leading 3 laps to the main event, and you're just getting shuffled back. I knew what he went through though. Like that's happened to me.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
I've been. I mean,
It's
once
just like a snowball effect.
You
You're
can't
like,
stop the
"Oh."
bleeding. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's
It's
like,
just
"Ah."
there's nothing you can do about
Yeah.
it. You know? Yeah.
And
we've
I
all
think,
been there.
you know, as a dad, I think that's what I'm most excited for is teaching them that work ethic and teaching them how to work through mistakes. Because I was going through social media today and I saw something cool that said, you know, the guy was basically saying like, okay, you made a mistake or you lost at something. Good. Say the word good. Oh, you hurt yourself. Good. Because now you can work to come back. You
Right,
can always
yeah.
learn from
Yeah.
something. You can always work to come back. And I think that's how I've tried to always talk to T about dirt bikes. It's like, okay, you lost. Do you want to win? Well, yeah. Okay, well, let's see where we made a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, you crashed. Do you want to fix it? Yes. Well, let's figure out how it happened.
Right.
How do we go forward?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, when there's a million aspects to this, we didn't even talk about the injury side of things. I don't want to see my kid get hurt.
No,
Yeah.
my
That.
biggest fear.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the difference between getting hurt myself and my son getting hurt, I'll take it all day long before I see him get a bump on his knee. You know what I mean? And funny story about that, right? So, you know, me doing what I do, seeing all the, you know, the young families and the young kids and the vests, right?
Yeah.
To me, it's like when I look, you know, from the outside looking in, I'm like, man, these kids can't move. Like, I'm big on movement. Like, you got to be able to move. You got to be able to react to the bike. Like, I'm not going to put my kid in one of these vests. Like, I feel like it's going to be too restrictive. The first time we went riding on his PW50, we go to this farm that I used to ride at when I was a kid. And it's fast. You go right around the fields. And so he likes the physical speed. So he's moving and I'm following him on a bigger bike. And he's, at the time, I don't even think he was 3 yet. I think he was still 2. And he's just in the bike, you know, and I'm right behind watching everything. And I'm watching the bike twitch and I know what can happen. And he's just got a jersey on and I'm terrified.
Yeah.
The next day I came to see you. I said, Travis, we got to get a vest.
Gotta get a vest.
We got to get a vest. He's going to wear a vest.
Cruz rides a dirt bike now, and he looks like the kid from Christmas Story when he's going to school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wake up, guys.
Yeah.
That happened to us. TJ's first race at Back 40, he was wearing just a jersey, went over a peak jump and landed and took the handlebars right to the chest.
Yeah.
And we borrowed a vest from Paxton Shires.
Yep.
Like, I was the same way. I didn't really know. Like, but you think about all of this. Like, you think about that kid going that fast. Honestly, throw a restriction out of the window. I don't really want you moving, dude. Like, I want you, I want you protected.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean,
You know, when I was a blue with the vest, and you got him the vest.
Yeah.
It was last winter at Spider. Had a great day. It's just like you were saying, there's a black cloud that follows Cole and I.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, going into the day, I didn't even know if he was even going to be able to ride the track. It was so rutted. He was just learning to ride. And me personally, like, if he didn't want to ride it, I was cool with it. And no, we got him riding. He had an unreal day. And at the very end of the day, and not this kid's fault at all, but Cole fell on the backside of a jump. I couldn't get to him in time.
Yeah.
This kid jumps the tabletop, runs him right over. And I wanted to die.
Yeah.
I thought he died. I was like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
And I picked up, and he's crying, whatever. But I see that he's all right, whatever. And he had that vest on, and there wasn't a scratch on him. And this kid literally, like,
He
ran
frame
him
cased
over,
him. Yeah.
right from his ass, right up and over.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow. And right then and there, I'm like, yep, I'm glad he's wearing this vest. Like, I was a huge believer in it right then and there. I was like, yep, he's gonna wear that vest till he goes out of it.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
scary how things can go bad so quick. You know?
Oh yeah, I was thinking that. I was like, man, he just had an unreal day riding. Like, and it's just like, boop, bam.
So I
wonder-
will say one of the things that I've worked on with TJ, and I suggest it to every dad out there because you never know when or where it's going to go wrong. If he falls his first at a practice day, not in a race. Okay, this is at a practice day because these kids are out there with 60s, and sometimes 80s. Right. His first thing that he does if he falls on a dirt bike track is get off the track. That's it. That's all I've taught him. Yeah. I don't care where you are. Yeah. Get off the track. Yeah. Get out of there. Yeah. Well, if the bike gets run over, whatever. Yeah. Like
that's replaceable.
I don't care.
Right.
And it took me a while to gather that because there were many times like Brian, I was running because he was down on the backside of a jump. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he's just standing there. And you're like, dude, no, we're not. Someone rolling through. Yeah. Like, dude, we're not. We're not doing that. You're not standing in the track. You're not trying to pick your bike up. You're not trying to go back. Get off the track. Right. Yeah. I don't care. Like and also we're dealing with Cole, who was 3 at the time. Yeah. Like he's not thinking. He just fell over. Like that.
Well, yeah, and he was actually underneath his bike a little bit. He weren't trapped. He probably could have gotten up, but he was like upset that he fell. That's another issue. Yeah. Like whenever he falls, he's like me. He dwells on it and gets mad, and so yeah, he was there. And that poor kid that ran, he had no idea he was there. You know, right? So you can't be mad at the kid. No, things happen. You know, and I was just like, I just saw that. Like he just ran him right over, and I was like, how did we just go from to that
an awesome day to
that
awesome?
But I didn't get to talk to Brian for like 2 hours after that.
Yeah,
it was a quiet ride home.
Yeah, I didn't say much. Like I was just like going through my head, like, do I really want my kid doing this?
Yeah.
And
no,
but
it's scary.
You kids get hurt doing it. I mean, so another weird story is my Cole broke his leg this past winter. Mm-hmm. We don't know how he did it. Yep. We have an idea maybe how he did it. Like he hyperextended it somehow, but he complained that his leg hurt a little bit. Like he went to bed that night and woke up crying in his bed and couldn't stop crying. Couldn't put weight on it. The wife took him to the hospital. Yeah, his leg's broken. And that was the hardest part for me. Was like, yeah, it sucks. His leg's broken. Okay. But, like, how? Right. What did he do? Poor kid don't even have a cool story to tell.
Yeah.
But no, in all seriousness.
You make one up.
Yeah, in all seriousness, though, but it's like, how does that even happen? The doctor's like, honestly, in kids from, like, 3 to 7, that's a common injury. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, but what did he do? And they're like, he must have hyperextended his leg.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay. So he's in a cast for 3 weeks, and he's great now, but it's just like, so, like, yeah, I don't want him riding dirt bikes and getting hurt, but it's like,
there's
he just
risk
broke his leg, and you don't even know how he did it.
Right. There's risk in everything. And you know, and we're not gonna. It could happen to anybody. And honestly, we've been really lucky with TJ. Knock on wood. That like, dude, there's been bad Charlie horses and stuff. Yeah. But even when you're picking him up off the track and he's crying, you feel like garbage. Like I did this to my kid. This is my responsibility. Yeah. You know. Yeah. And
I think that's why it's so important to build the technique in him young. Yep. You know, and that's one thing that I love about TJ. Like, no matter how fast he's going, he's solid. Like, rider. He's in position. He's I'm never watching TJ like,
you never know.
He's gonna go down. You know what I mean? Like, everybody crashes. The smoothest, best rider on the planet is hitting the ground. Yeah. But you you take your chances way down low if you're in control and you have good form.
I think that's what was most fun about Minios is I was nervous about the environment and the amount of kids, right? But I wasn't nervous about him, because we've all been to Gatorback.
Mm-hmm.
Dude.
That's a big track.
There's some holes. There are some bad spots.
Yeah.
And he rode the outdoor track without falling once, and I was so stoked.
That's
on
good
that.
Too. I watched all the races too. And
I know you did.
Rutted, man.
But so I saved one thing that you guys I haven't talked to you guys about yet because you would be my first text on this.
Okay.
And I haven't texted this. Matt Walker.
Yeah.
He's having a big race, Silver Dollar MX, AMA event.
Yeah.
He's having it in a few weeks. Just announced today an two AMA number 1 plates for Stasic bikes.
It's in a couple weeks.
An AMA?
Carl just came out.
Yeah.
Carl just gets
I was actually going to make fun of you, but you're going, aren't you?
AMA plates for Stasic.
Number 1 plates for Stasic 12-inch and 16-inch. I
just happened to be heading down there in a few weeks, but nah, I shouldn't say that. I mean, to backtrack a bit, so we got Cole to Stasic in California. He's riding around the Ventura campground on pavement, mind you.
Yep.
He rode it for a couple weeks. We got him on the second setting, and my wife's like, hey, Fox Racing at the headquarters is putting on a Stasic race. I'm like, really? Yeah, we should take Cole. In my head, I'm like, yeah, we'll take Cole. Maybe he can just ride a little bit. So we do. We sign him up for it. And this is you would have thought it was an amateur national.
It's pro. Yeah.
It was a great time. Great event. He's out there with Villapoto's boys, who are nasty, by the way. They were unreal. Poor Cole. I put it on the second setting for him, because he had been riding with it in the campground. Well, now he's on a shrunken down
on a track.
Mini supercross
he's on an
track.
arena cross track.
Right.
As soon as he takes the first corner, I'm like, oh man, not good. Way too fast.
Yeah.
He ain't gonna make them. He rails the first turn, goes over the first table, goes a rail. His second berm runs out of real estate, right off the top.
Yeah.
Went yard sale, and he went down so hard. I was thinking, oh, he's done. He ain't. He's crying, right?
Yeah.
And I pick him up. I'm like, you all right, buddy? Grabs his bike, takes off again. Now, one of Villapoto's boys goes around him. Cole just takes him down.
Cleans out Poto.
Oh, yeah. One of the little Potos. 110% Cole's fault.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, what are we doing here?
I mean, honestly, if I were you, I would have started yelling at Poto's dad.
No. But, and mind you, I am totally the mini dad out there. Not screaming at him to go faster, but I'm the guy that you see that's just running everywhere.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And I'm getting in the way of the other kids, and I'm just, Megan's just like, Brian, you can't be doing that. And I'm like, wow, I'm totally being that guy.
That guy.
Yeah.
And it went from 0 to 100 like that.
Yeah.
And by the end of the practice, he had hit another kid so hard that he blew the front tire. So now I got to run to Walmart to get tire tubes because they don't have tubes there. It was complete fiasco. I'm just I don't know if I ever want to do this.
Trial by fire.
Yeah,
Brian
I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
But after I got the tire fixed for him, he went out and did his qualifying races. I dialed it back to 1, and he did awesome. Had a blast. It was a great event.
Do you?
I just had to tell that. So
let's flash forward a few years here. Super Minis, Loretta's. Cole Bagley is sitting next to both Villapotos, right? They all make it there. Okay? They're racing Loretta's. Do you think Cole tries to take one of them out? Do you think this comes full
by
circle?
mistake for sure? Yeah.
You know?
Well, so this last time in Florida when I took him to Spider, most of the day he pretty much had the track by himself. And then another kid showed up on a PW who was really fast. Kid rode awesome. And Cole had fallen. I'm out there riding with Cole. I like to ride with him. I'm kind of like a buffer for him,
Yeah.
And he falls. He's all upset. He's mad because he fell. I get him up. I wave the kid by. You're all good, bud. Go by. So the kid goes around. He's pretty much done another lap. Now he's coming back up onto us, and Cole takes off. And I let the kid by because he's way faster than Cole. And you would think the kid would get right around Cole. Oh, no. Cole's riding a wide bike. And this kid's just like, hats off to this kid. Like, he was really nice, really cool to Cole. Like, didn't run it in on him, you know what I mean? And he's just riding behind Cole for like 2-3 laps because Cole's just being that kid.
Oh, yeah.
And he finally gets by him, and I pull Cole off the side. I'm like, hey, man, good riding, buddy. Like, you held that kid off. But I go, you really need to hold your line.
Yeah.
Though, you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. It's worked.
He was like a little mini Vince.
It's
Freeze
worked
out
for
there.
Vince.
You should have seen him.
It's worked for Vince.
Seen him.
I mean, but that's why racing's racing, because you can get a kid that's really fast that'll get behind a kid and he can't figure out how to pass him.
Yeah, I know. I just don't want that. Cole to be that guy.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Is Matt Walker a genius for this, for a Stasic #1 plate, or are we going down?
I mean, I have a lot of respect for Matt Walker. I think he does great things, but I'm not on board with that.
Are we going down a road that we shouldn't go down?
Yeah, I think so.
I like the Stasic to be just hey, you want to get your kid into riding anything.
Yep.
So make it more introductory.
Yeah.
We went to that Switchback MX. It's an indoor track, and they had a Stasic class, and Travis went out on just Molly's Stasic, He got lapped. T can ride a Stasic.
Oh, yes, he can. Yeah.
He got lapped because these kids had double battery packs, modded out motors.
Yeah.
It just became this thing. And their dads, like, no joke, their dads were not down there for a Stasic race.
Well, back to the Fox race, like, we're there just for Cole to literally make it around the track.
Yeah.
He's in, like, the 3 to 5-year-old class. I don't know what it was. It was a beginner class. And he came off the track from one of his heat races. I mean, he was probably last or second to last. I'm just stoked he made it around the track. And my wife's taking his helmet off. And, like, one of the mothers to the other kids, here, baby, have a protein shake. I'm like, okay. And then this other dad's like, someone said, oh, did you... I said to Cole, hey, bud, did you have fun out there? And this other dad chimes into his case. He's like, we're not here to have fun. We're here to win. And I'm just like, did I really just hear that?
Stasics. This is an entire... This was at
one of the
Fox.
many times I'm biting my tongue. I wanted to headbutt the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for making that comment.
Absolutely. Insane.
So
it's just like, really?
Yeah.
So I see it in theory and in fun for Matt Walker to have #1 plates is like a cool, like kind of like could be a funny thing, right? Okay, here's a kid on a Stasic, but what you're doing is exactly what has destroyed the PW50 class.
Right.
I mean, it's cutthroat, and I mean cutthroat. You could talk to some parents down there, and they're they'll talk to you and stuff, but they are searching, and I swear to God, they're searching for who they protest.
Right.
Think about the AMA rep that has to go to this race.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
Must be bald.
Think about the AMA rep that has to deal with 20 protests for a Stasic race.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an AMA race. There's got to be some rules. To me, I like it in theory as far as like that's a cool, we can go race a Stasic and win a #1 plate. But I hate it in the fact that, damn, man, you're taking something fun.
Right.
And you're making
I
it
think
really...
it's making it a little too serious.
I still have a theory that, 50 classes and sometimes 60 classes shouldn't have #1 plates. Like what? They're
we're putting too much emphasis on it at too young of an age.
Yeah.
Like,
you weren't even riding a dirt bike yet.
I wasn't even riding a dirt bike, and
Jeez, I had already won my first championship.
Yeah.
He had too.
Yeah, I had too.
Yeah,
I had my first NESC championship before you even rode a dirt bike.
Yeah.
Never mind. That was 86, so never mind.
Oh, yeah, maybe not, actually. Yeah, well, we were 94?
Yeah, 94.
Oh, man, so I take that back. So.
Yeah.
No, so, yeah, well, I mean, it's the sport is always going to change, and it's always going to evolve. And
Yep.
you know, I don't always agree with some of what the promoters do, or even what AMA does, or you know, I don't always agree with everything. But I'm just a moto dad, right? And all we can do is talk about it, bench race, and hopefully, you know, put you know, ideas in people's heads to make changes and do really cool things. We're in a good space with motocross, like with kids, like, because if you think about it, you know, you had to wait until you were 18 years old before you saw top level,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
My son got to see it at 6,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So that's cool. Like, he's ahead
Yeah.
of the game, and it seems like it's far more accepted now. Like, if you're racing dirt bikes, go down south in the winter. Like, go check it out. Go to
Yeah.
Florida and
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
check it out.
Yeah.
And so I think, like, we're in a good space where it really, the sport has legitimized a lot, right, for our kids. And it is a legitimate sport.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, my kid's school teachers still don't know what he does. Like, they still don't, it hasn't gotten that far, but,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
So we're in a good space. It's just, I don't want to ruin something that we have that's so cool as an introduction to the sport by trying to make it number one plates. Like, could you imagine
Yeah.
now all the amateur nationals have Stasic races
Yeah,
with number one
Yeah,
plates?
I think that's going a little too far.
Where are we going
It's too
next?
much
Are we
too
having
soon, you know?
why not pit bike classes? You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's tough.
To me, you put an AMA number one plate, anything, anywheres, and people are coming for it because
Look, Brian-
everybody's trying to get one.
Brian just almost drove 22 hours
Yeah.
to go get that thing.
Yeah.
No. No.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. I'm looking. If we're gonna get number one plates, I'd rather get them down the road a little farther. You know what I
And-
mean, I think that's gonna
yeah.
help you farther along. Than,
And that's
you
where
know.
I'm at with T. Again, talking, you know, I feel like this is our year to go do really cool stuff. I am actually nervous that I've burnt him out. Like, we've done a lot of racing. In the last 3 years, we have raced a lot.
Yeah.
So, like, is there any motivation for him? Did we do it wrong? Should we have maybe ramped up instead of just going all in? And, you know, so...
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, I'm out of notes at this point. Is there anything, Andy, I'll start with you. Is there anything, like, you know, you've listened to a couple of the Moto Dad podcasts. You are both of you are patrons of the sport far more than I am. Is there anything that you thought about coming on the show that we didn't talk about that, you want to talk about?
I mean, no, not anything in particular. Just, you know, it's just crazy how much the sport has changed, you know, from when we were kids to now. You know, and going back to what we've just been talking about with the number one plates, like, I feel like it was a lot less serious at a young age, and you kind of grew into it better. And, you know, I think that might be better than where we've gone, you know, and it's just trying to get too much too soon, you know, and
But as moto dads, we can shield our kids from that.
yeah, absolutely. We absolutely can, you know, and that's why, you know, if he's asking me to go race, we'll go race. But I don't, you know, I want to definitely tread lightly in it and ease into it, you know, because for me, I mean, the ultimate goal would be to, the ultimate goal is to be able to ride with him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I ride with him now, you know, and that's awesome. And to be able to continue that through the years, to me, I still ride with my dad. You know, my dad's gonna be 67, and we're getting ready to go do the first GNCC in a few weeks.
That's unreal.
Yeah, you know, and I love it. You know what I mean? And I take every opportunity to ride with my dad, and I always have been mindful of that. But even now, as I'm older and he's older, I ain't able to ride forever. You know, so every time I get to go ride with my dad, I take that opportunity.
Yeah,
And
awesome.
I'm hoping to have that same relationship with Cruz. And above everything, results. How high, you know, how high of a level he gets to, if we can share that and be able to ride together, that's it for me.
No,
like
cool.
if he can have the same passion that I have, that's a win for me. That's what I would like to see, you know.
Very cool.
So.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I feel like Cole has actually gotten me back into riding and wanting to ride because I have the most fun now, just riding with him. Like, I got the 110 at the house.
Yep.
And I chase him around the house, and I love it. Like, we have a blast. He's already put me into the rock wall a couple times, so he's aggressive. Gotta watch him, but it's a lot of fun. And I don't know. You asked like what else we should talk about and bring up. Like, honestly, like my biggest thing as far as like moto dads out there, like, awesome, you getting your kid into it, but take the time to teach them how to ride right. Or if you don't know, like, bring them to someone like Andy, that does riding schools. This is a dangerous sport. But let's try to make it as safe as possible. You know what I mean? Like, I see the dads screaming at their kids just to twist the throttle, and that's when I cringe. It's like, I mean, I'm all about cheering your kid on. Yeah, let's go. Like, but when you're just screaming bloody murder to go faster and you're not mindful, he's not mindful of his surroundings, like, I have an issue with that.
It's dangerous.
And I'm going to be the same way with my kid. Like, it's not just like, I don't want people running into my kid. If my kid's doing something on the track that is not right, I'm going to let him know, like, hey, bud, can't be doing that. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
So that's...
Yeah. I've seen it a million times, the loudmouth dad at the track that's running around along the fence as his kid's leading a race, and his kid looks like garbage. Riding the tank.
Yeah.
Gonna crash.
Yeah.
And I can see thank God I have this experience from growing up and watching all these awesome riders. But guess who is just behind all these top level talent are the kids that just knew how to twist it, right?
Yeah.
So I see it. I can register in my brain really quickly when I'm about to see a kid crash. And I see it every weekend at the track, and their dads are the ones that are stoked because their kid's in the lead. And I feel like saying, dude,
Yeah.
you're gonna
Yeah.
like you're gonna end up in the hospital.
Yeah.
You feel like a dick saying it,
Right.
but there has to be a point where you got to be like, bud, you gotta slow your kid down.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with those kids. Like, they don't know anything different.
Yeah.
Like, they can only do what they're
And
taught.
I'm not talking TJ's class. In TJ's class, he's
It can be
very
in any
lucky.
class.
He's very
Yeah.
lucky
Yeah,
that the
any
kids
age.
that he rides with locally here are very talented kids that ride very, very well.
Yeah.
It's when they get into the bigger classes that I get scared. The 85s, the super minis, like,
Yeah.
those are scary dirt
The
bikes.
speeds are going up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, when you're on a PW50, the bikes go fast, but they only go X amount. They only go this fast.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? It's a little bit safer, but like, you start giving them more speed and more power, now you can get into a really bad situation.
Bad.
You know what I mean? And you can on little bikes too, but it
Yeah.
gets higher, right? As the speeds go higher. So
I know, like,
that's why that fundamental, that base is so important.
Megan's like, oh, he's so cute. And I'm like, he's cute right now. If he decides to get on bigger bikes, the speeds get up there, it's just like, it doesn't get cute anymore. It's just like, this is real.
This
like,
is real, yeah.
Yep.
It's like,
And that's why, like, when you see a dad that's just, veins popping out of his
Yeah.
neck, and he jump that jump, it's the kid's ass that's on the line.
yeah.
If he
100%.
pins it and he gets hurt, he's paying the price.
Yeah.
He's the one that's going to be hurt.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And that's where the difference
Yeah.
between an individual sport and a team sport. Like, it's all on him. And
The
that's,
kids like that can twist it, those are the kids you got to grab me. Hey, listen, bud, like, this is how we got to go about riding.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
because it's only going to make them, faster. You're going to go faster a lot easier.
Yeah.
right.
And you're going to be safer. I mean, it's never
Yeah.
100% safe,
Yeah.
but you'll be safer,
Yeah, I can wait. I can definitely wait because even on the 60s, it's fast.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
If they want to be competitive, it's
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
And it's scary.
Yeah, the mini pros shrunken down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's all
Watching
it is.
mini O's this past year,
Yeah.
I was blown away.
Yeah, those 60
It's
riders.
been a long
like
time since I've been to an amateur national. I'm just,
Yeah.
of course, over the years I've known how fast these little kids are. But watching them on that supercross track, like, they're mini pros.
Yeah.
Mini pros. Honey, I Shrunk the Kid,
Yeah.
little pro.
Yep.
And when you talk about experience, they don't have a wealth of
Nope.
experience.
Nope.
How long have you been doing that? I mean, how long can they have been doing
Some
it?
of
They're
them,
so young.
2 years.
But
you know?
that's
Yeah.
why you want this to be developmental, right?
Yeah.
You're
Right.
there to learn lessons, not
Yeah.
win championships and pay your parents' bills.
Yeah.
You're not there for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're there to learn.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
when they get to the pro ranks, right now, all you got to do is be a top 10 kid nationally, and you can do whatever you want when you want to go pro. Like you have the talent, everyth's there. Your base is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
probably even top 15, top 20 in the country. And these kids, when look at the class, like go back to Loretta's, Tomac sometimes was getting 6th or 7th at Loretta's in that group, in that age group. You know,
Right.
so
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
well, cool. Well,
Yeah.
there it is, another episode of the Moto Dad podcast. Thank you, Team EJP, for having us in. We didn't ask. We just took over the shop. A lot of history here. And now one more piece of history has been made with the Moto Dad podcast, episode 4. Again, we don't really have sponsors. Patrimoto, give us a follow on Patrimoto. We're trying to do a lot of things that we talked about here, growing the sport, trying to do really cool things to get kids riding Stasics and dirt bikes. And if you like the show, share the show. All right, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're cheersing empty drinks. We're going to go fix that right now.